They found him, alone, shaking in the dark forest. Not a soldier, not a weapon, an abandoned alien child. And his first words were not a threat, they were a plea. Don't leave me, human. 3 days later, the global markets crashed, satellites went silent, power grids failed. Because something massive was entering Earth's orbit. And the governments were hiding one terrifying truth. This child was not just abandoned, he was left here. On purpose. And if humanity made one wrong decision, we would not just lose a war, we would lose our future. Because the alien who begged to stay was the only one who could stop what was coming. Welcome to Cosmic Neon Aliens. If you are wise, experienced, maybe above 50, and still curious about the universe, then this story is for you. Subscribe now. Like you are protecting your grandchild's future. And tell us in the comments, where in this world are you watching from tonight? Because what happens next will change how you see humanity forever. Asterisk, the forest was too quiet that night. No wind, no insects, no sound except the slow steps of soldiers moving between dead trees. 3 days earlier, something had fallen from the sky. The government told people it was a small meteor, but meteors do not send signals, and meteors do not change direction before crashing. Captain Elias walked at the front of the team. He was calm on the outside, but inside he felt something was wrong. The crash site was only 2 kilometers ahead. Every electronic device in that area had stopped working after the impact. Phones died, cars stopped, even military drones fell from the sky. It was like the forest itself was holding its breath. One young soldier whispered, "Sir, do you feel that?" Elias did not answer. He felt it too. A strange pressure in the air, like the moment before a storm. Suddenly, their scanners made a soft beep, not loud, not urgent, but steady. Life signal detected. Another soldier said quietly. Everyone froze. Life signal meant survivor. But there were no human ships reported missing. They moved slowly toward a clearing. The trees were burned in a perfect circle. In the center was a deep crater. Smoke still rose from the ground. Half buried in the dirt was something metallic. It did not look like any human machine. Its surface was smooth and dark, with faint blue lines glowing across it. It looked alive. Elias stepped closer. The metal pod was broken open from the inside. Claw marks scratched across the surface, as if something had tried to escape. Then they heard it, a small sound, soft, weak, like someone crying. The soldiers raised their weapons. The sound came from behind the pod. Elias slowly walked around the metal wreckage, and then he saw it. A small figure sitting against a burned tree. Its skin was pale blue. Its eyes were large and glowing faintly in the dark. It looked no older than a human child. It was shaking. Not from cold, from fear. When it saw the soldiers, it tried to move back, but it was too weak. One soldier whispered, "Is that the alien?" No one had ever seen one before. They only had theories. Elias lowered his weapon slowly. The creature looked at him directly. Its eyes were not angry, they were desperate. Then it spoke. Its voice was broken and soft. "Don't leave me, human." The words were not perfect, but they were clear enough. The entire team went silent. How did it know English? Why did it sound like it had practiced those words? Elias felt something change inside him. This was not an invading soldier. This was a child. Before anyone could speak again, the scanners began to scream loudly. Multiple signals, high energy readings, far above the atmosphere. "Sir, objects detected in orbit," the soldier shouted. Elias looked up at the sky. At first he saw only stars. Then one star moved, then another. They were not stars, they were ships. Huge shapes slowly appearing from darkness. The alien child grabbed Elias's sleeve tightly. Its small hand was cold. "They found me," it whispered. Elias looked down at it. "Who found you?" he asked quietly. The child's glowing eyes filled with something that looked like tears. "My people," it said. A loud rumble shook the ground. The ships above began to glow with blue light. Energy gathered at their centers. The soldiers aimed their weapons at the sky, but everyone knew those weapons were useless. The alien child looked terrified, not of the humans, but of the ships. "They will not ask," the child said. "They will take me and destroy everything else." Elias made a decision in that moment. He turned to his team. "We are not leaving it here," he said firmly. One soldier hesitated. "Sir, orders were to secure the area and report." Elias shook his head. "New orders." He carefully picked up the small alien. It was lighter than he expected, weak, fragile. Above them, the first beam of light shot down from the sky. It hit the far side of the forest. Trees exploded into fire. The invasion had begun. Elias ran toward the transport vehicle with the child. In his arms, the alien held onto him tightly, as if he was the only safe thing in the universe. Behind them, more beams fell from the sky. The forest burned. The night turned bright blue, and the signal that started in the dark had just become a war for Earth. But no one yet understood the truth. The weakest alien in the universe might be humanity's only hope. The world did not panic at first, because the world did not know. The burning forest was closed off within. Hours news channels called it a chemical explosion. Experts were paid to say there was no danger. But deep under the mountains, in a hidden military base, the truth was alive. The alien child sat inside a white room with glass walls, not a prison. But not freedom either. Machines surrounded him. Soft lights scanned his body every few seconds. Doctors and scientists watched from the other side of the glass. They did not see a child. They saw data, energy readings, unknown biology, impossible power levels. Captain Elias stood quietly in the corner of the room. He did not like the way they were looking at the alien. They had given him a name, Subject 27. But Elias refused to use it. He called him Nova. Nova sat on the edge of the small bed. His glowing eyes moved slowly around the room. He looked tired, but not weak anymore. Every hour, the energy readings from his body increased. And every hour, the ships in orbit moved closer. A senior scientist spoke in a low voice. "He is not normal, even for his species," another replied. "We detected a signal coming from him before the ships arrived." Elias turned quickly. "What kind of signal?" he asked. The scientist hesitated. "A beacon." The word felt heavy in the air. Elias looked at Nova through the glass. The child was drawing something on the floor with his finger. Strange symbols that glowed faintly before fading away. "He didn't call them on purpose," Elias said firmly. The scientists did not answer, because they were not sure. Inside the room, Nova suddenly looked up. His eyes focused directly on Elias, as if he could hear everything. "Human," Nova said softly. Elias entered the room alone. The heavy door closed behind him. "You are safe here," Elias said, keeping his voice calm. Nova shook his head slowly. "No safe," he replied. "They follow signal." Elias knelt down so he was at the same level. "You mean the ships?" Nova nodded. "They do not want me back," he said quietly. "They want me gone." Elias frowned. "Why would your own people hunt you?" Nova looked down at his hands. Blue light moved under his skin like slow lightning. I'm wrong," he said. "I feel." Elias did not understand at first. "Feel what?" "Everything," Nova whispered. "Fear, pain, hope, love." He touched his chest. "My people removed feelings long time ago. They believe emotion makes mind weak." Elias felt a chill. "So they left you here?" Nova nodded slowly. "They thought I would die alone." The machines around the room suddenly began to flash red. Energy levels were rising fast. Outside, alarms started ringing across the base. A soldier rushed into the control room. "Sir, the ships have launched smaller crafts." Large screens showed dark objects entering the atmosphere. They moved with perfect control. Not fast, not rushed, confident. "They are not attacking cities," a technician said nervously. "They are scanning." Elias looked back at Nova. "Scanning for you." he said quietly. Nova closed his eyes tightly. I try to hide, he whispered, but when I feel strong emotion, signal grows. Elias understood the terrible truth. Nova was not just being tracked. He was connected to them. The more afraid he became, the stronger the signal outside. The ground shook slightly as one of the alien crafts landed miles away. Military forces were already moving to intercept, but reports came in quickly. Human weapons were failing. Missiles lost power before impact. Jets dropped from the sky without warning. It was not destruction, it was control. They are testing us, a general said in the command center. They want to see what we can do. Nova suddenly stood up, his eyes glowing brighter than before. They are coming here, he said. Elias felt the air change again, that same pressure from the forest, but stronger now. He made a decision. Prepare transport, he ordered. We are moving him. The general stared at him. Moving him where? Elias answered without hesitation. Somewhere they cannot predict. Inside the room, Nova looked scared. But when Elias placed a steady hand on his shoulder, the glow around him softened. Human, Nova said quietly. Yes, Elias replied. If they take me, Nova continued, they will not stop with Earth. Elias did not ask what that meant, because he already understood. The alien ships were not here for war. They were here to erase a mistake. And if humanity stood in the way of that mistake, humanity would become one too. Above the base, the sky darkened as more crafts entered the atmosphere. The secret they were hiding underground was no longer just a discovery. It was a decision. Protect the abandoned alien or hand him over to save themselves. And deep inside the mountain, the child who was never meant to survive was becoming something no one could control. Asterisk, the sky did not explode. It changed. People across the world looked up and saw something strange. The blue color of the sky slowly turned pale, like something was draining the light out of it. Birds fell silent. Dogs began to bark at nothing. Phones lost signal at the same time, across continents. Screens went black for exactly 10 seconds. Then they came back. But something was different. High above Earth, the alien fleet moved into position. They did not rush. They did not panic. They formed a perfect circle around the planet, like a cage inside the underground base. Alarms screamed again, not loud and chaotic, but steady and controlled. The kind of alarm that means something planned is happening. General Ward stared at the large screen in disbelief. They are mapping every defense system we have, he said. Missile silos, naval fleets, air force bases, satellites, one by one. Red lights appeared on the global map, not destroyed, disabled. Weapons shut down without a single shot fired. Jets in the air lost power and glided helplessly toward emergency landings. Nuclear systems locked themselves with unknown codes. Even submarines deep underwater lost navigation for several seconds. It was not an attack. It was a message. We can end you whenever we choose. Captain Elias stood beside Nova in the transport. The base lights flickered above them. Nova held his head tightly with both hands. His breathing was fast. They are thinking, Nova whispered. Elias looked at him, confused. Thinking what? They do not understand, Nova replied. Why humans protect me, outside. The first alien craft entered visible range over a nearby city. It was massive and silent. Like a floating shadow blocking the sun, people stopped their cars. In the streets, some recorded with their phones, others ran. News helicopters tried to approach, but their engines failed before they got close. On live television, the world watched as a beam of soft blue light descended from the ship. It did not destroy buildings, it scanned them. Windows vibrated. Metal bent slightly. Electronic systems glitched again. They are searching for Nova. A scientist whispered inside the base. Suddenly, the base itself shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Energy readings spiked violently on every monitor. They found us, a technician shouted. Above the mountain, a smaller alien craft hovered. Silently, it did not fire. It simply released a pulse. Every vehicle around the base shut down. Communication towers died. The facility was blind. Inside the transport bay, soldiers prepared weapons. Even though they knew it might be useless, Elias knelt in front of Nova again. "You need to stay calm," he said firmly. Nova's glowing eyes were brighter than ever. "I try," he whispered, "but they are close." The large metal doors of the bay suddenly turned red hot. Not from fire, from energy pressure. The alien craft above was cutting through the mountain slowly, not violently, carefully. Like a surgeon opening skin, soldiers aimed their rifles. At the doors, sweat rolled down their faces. Then the doors melted inward and collapsed. Smoke filled the room, and from the opening, 3 tall alien figures stepped inside. They were nothing like Nova. Their skin was gray and smooth, their eyes cold and without emotion, their movements perfect and robotic. They did not speak at first. They simply looked at Nova. One of them finally stepped forward. Its voice echoed directly into everyone's mind. "Return the defective unit." The soldiers reacted instantly and opened fire. Bullets stopped in midair, frozen. Then they fell harmlessly to the ground. The alien did not even move. Elias stepped in front of Nova protectively. "He is not a unit," Elias shouted. "He is under our protection." The alien's head tilted slightly. "Human logic is flawed," it responded calmly. "The defective unit threatens stability." Nova stepped forward slowly. His small hand touched Elias's arm gently. "Do not fight," Nova whispered. But Elias did not move. The alien raised its hand slightly. A wave of invisible force threw the soldiers across the room. Walls cracked, metal bent. Elias struggled to stand again. Nova's body began to glow intensely blue. The air around him vibrated. The alien figures paused for the first time. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable levels. Nova looked at the tall, emotionless beings. "You fear what you do not feel," he said softly. The entire room shook violently. A burst of light exploded outward from Nova's body. Not fire, not destruction, but pure force. The alien figures were pushed backward, not damaged but surprised. For the first time their formation broke across the world. Every alien ship in orbit reacted at once. Energy surges pulsed through their fleet, as if they had all felt it, inside the base. Nova fell to his knees, exhausted. Elias caught him before he hit the ground. The alien invaders retreated slowly toward the melted entrance, their mission incomplete. Before disappearing, one of them sent one final message into every human mind in the room. This world now shares his defect. Silence returned to the damaged bay. Smoke drifted slowly upward. Elias held Nova tightly as distant explosions echoed across the sky. The first attack was not a full invasion. It was a warning, and humanity had just made its choice clear. They would not hand him over, which meant the next move would not be controlled. It would be war. The base was no longer quiet. Smoke still moved through broken hallways, lights flickered. Soldiers carried the injured to medical rooms, but in the center of all the chaos, Nova slept, not peacefully, but deeply, like someone whose body had used too much power. Captain Elias sat beside the medical bed. He did not leave. Doctors said Nova's body was stable, but his energy levels were strange, not weak, not strong, changing outside the mountain. Alien ships still circled the planet. They did not attack again. They waited, like hunters watching prey that refuses to run. Inside the command room, generals argued loudly. "We cannot defend against that fleet," one said. "Our weapons are useless," said another. "Then we return the alien," someone whispered. The room went silent. Elias entered at that moment. "He has a name," he said firmly. The generals looked at him with tired eyes. "And what is that name going to do against an invasion?" one asked. Before Elias could answer, every screen in the room turned blue. Not from alien ships, from Nova, in the medical room. Nova's body began to glow again, but this time, the light did not explode outward. It spread slowly across the walls, across the floor, through cables and machines, like water filling empty space. On the command screens, images began to appear, not camera footage, not satellite images, memories. The room filled with silence as everyone watched. They saw a distant alien world, cold and perfect. Tall cities made of silver towers. No noise, no laughter, no children playing. Alien beings walked in straight lines, their faces blank, their movements exact. Nova's voice echoed softly through the room. "This is my home." The general stared in shock. It was not a broadcast, it was a shared vision. "My people removed emotion many cycles ago," Nova continued. "They believed feelings caused war." The vision changed. They saw ancient alien history, explosions across planets, civil wars, destruction caused by anger and fear. "So they erased it," Nova said. "They removed sadness, love, joy." The alien cities became calm and silent again. No crime, no conflict, but also no smiles. No art, no music, no family. Nova whispered. "They became stable." The word felt empty. The vision shifted again, this time showing a smaller chamber. Alien scientists standing around a glowing pod. Inside was a small blue child. "Nova, I was born different," he said quietly. "I felt everything." The alien scientists in the vision looked disturbed, scanning him repeatedly. Their cold eyes showed something close to confusion. "They called me unstable," Nova continued. "They said emotion spreads." The generals looked at each other. Emotion spreads. The vision showed Nova growing slightly older, other alien children standing near him. Slowly, their blank expressions changed. Curiosity, hesitation, even small smiles. They began to feel, Nova said. "My presence changed them." The alien leaders gathered in a large silver hall, cold voices speaking in perfect logic. "He is a defect. He threatens unity. Remove him." The final image showed Nova's escape pod being prepared. Not with care, but with distance. They did not kill him. They removed him, sent him far away, to die quietly on a distant world. Earth, the vision faded slowly. The command room lights returned to normal. Silence remained heavy in the air. "They fear you," Elias said softly. Nova opened his eyes in the medical room. "Yes," he replied. "Because emotion cannot be controlled," one general spoke carefully. "If emotion spreads, then what happens if your fleet feels it?" Nova sat up slowly. "They begin to question," he answered. "And questioning breaks control." Outside the mountain, one of the orbiting ships suddenly shifted position slightly, not aggressively. Uncertainly, inside the base, scientists checked global energy readings. Small fluctuations were appearing in alien ship systems, tiny errors, minor delays like hesitation. Nova looked at Elias. "They connected to me when they came close," he explained. "They share network, and now?" Elias asked carefully. "Now they feel something," Nova said. "Confusion." The generals understood the danger. If the alien leaders realized their fleet was being affected, they would not wait. They would destroy everything to protect their perfect order. "You are not just a child," Elias said quietly. "You are a signal," Nova nodded slowly. "I am what they erased." The room felt different now. Not hopeless but uncertain humanity had feared alien power. But the truth was deeper. The strongest force in the galaxy was not technology. It was control without feeling, and Nova was the one thing that could break it. Far above Earth, in the silent alien fleet, one commander paused slightly longer than logic allowed. A strange new sensation moved through its mind. Not anger, not fear, something unfamiliar, something human. And for the first time in their perfect history, the invaders were not completely sure. Morning came, but the sun did not feel warm. The alien ships still covered the sky like dark islands floating above the clouds. Cities were quiet, schools were closed, airports empty. People stayed inside their homes, watching news that had no answers. The world leaders met through emergency networks protected by old wired systems. Not satellites, not wireless, Because the alien fleet controlled those, in a secure underground hall, screens showed the same image, a live view of one massive alien ship hovering above the ocean. Waiting, a message had arrived only minutes earlier, not through radio, not through code, but directly into the minds of selected leaders across the planet. Clear and simple: return the defective one, and your species will survive. Silence filled the hall after the message was shared. It was not a threat shouted in anger. It was calm, cold, certain. One president finally spoke. If we give them the alien, they leave. Another leader shook his head. Or they erase us anyway after they fix their problem. Back inside the mountain base, Captain Elias stood outside Nova's room. He knew the discussion happening above him. He knew what was being considered. Nova sat quietly by the window, looking at the thin line of sunlight reaching the floor. You know, Elias said softly. Nova nodded without turning. They want trade, Nova replied. One life for billions. Elias felt anger rise in his chest. You are not a trade, he said firmly. Nova finally looked at him. His glowing eyes were calm. Human history has many trades, Nova said gently. Elias had no answer for that. Hours later, the world leaders requested to speak directly with Nova. For the first time in history, an alien child appeared on every major screen across the planet. He looked small in the large chair, fragile, but his eyes were steady. A leader spoke carefully. If we refuse to return you, they may destroy us. Nova listened without fear. They will not destroy you immediately, he replied. They will remove your defense systems first. They will show your weakness to themselves. And then they will decide if you are worth keeping. The room grew colder at his words. Another leader asked the question everyone feared. If we give you back, will they stop? Nova was silent for several seconds. No, he said finally. They will fix the emotional corruption in their fleet. They will erase any doubt. And then they will search for the next unstable civilization. One leader leaned forward. You mean us? Nova nodded slowly. You feel, he said. You create art, music, family. You argue and forgive. To them, that is instability. The leaders looked at each other. Humanity had always believed emotions made them weak. Now they were being told it was the reason they were alive. In cities across the world, people gathered in small groups. Not in panic, but in discussion. Social media filled with one question. Should we give him back? Some feared extinction. Others saw something different. A child abandoned by his own people, asking not to be left alone again. At the base, a soldier approached Elias quietly. Sir, my daughter asked me something, he said. Elias looked at him. She asked if we are the kind of people who protect kids. Elias felt that question heavier than any alien weapon above Earth. One alien ship moved slightly closer, energy built slowly at its center, not firing, just reminding. Back in the global meeting, the final vote began. Each leader had seconds to decide: return the alien or protect him. On screens around the world, people waited for the result. In the base, Nova closed his eyes. He was not afraid for himself. He was afraid of what humanity might choose. If they gave him up, they would survive today. But something inside them would change forever. The votes appeared one by one. Yes. No. Yes. No. The count was close, painfully close. Finally, the last vote appeared. No. The decision was made. Humanity would not return him. In the command center, no one cheered. They understood what this meant. Outside, the alien fleet reacted immediately. Energy across their ship surged to levels never seen before. The ocean below one ship began to rise from pressure alone. Nova opened his eyes slowly. You chose heart, he said quietly. Elias stood beside him. We chose family, he replied. In orbit, a final message spread across every communication channel. You have chosen instability. Prepare for correction. The sky above Earth began to glow brighter than the sun. And this time, the fleet was no longer waiting. Asterisk, the sky did not just glow, it cracked. Lines of blue light spread across the clouds like fractures in glass. From the ground, people watched in silence. There was no more hiding, no more secret meetings. The war had moved into the open above Earth. The alien fleet shifted formation. The perfect circle around the planet tightened slowly, like a fist closing. Massive energy cores inside the ships began to pulse in rhythm, one after another, not firing yet, charging. In the underground base, every alarm was active, but no one was shouting anymore. There was no confusion left, only preparation. General Ward looked at the tactical screen. If they release that energy at full scale, it will wipe out entire continents, he said quietly. Elias stood beside Nova in the central chamber. Soldiers surrounded them, not pointing weapons at the child, but guarding him. Nova's eyes reflected the flashing red lights of the base. They are not aiming at cities, Nova said softly. The generals looked at him. Then what are they targeting? Elias asked. Me, Nova answered. High above, a focused beam began to form. Not wide like before, not a warning. A single concentrated strike aimed directly at the mountain base. They want to remove the source, a scientist whispered. The ground trembled as the first wave of energy hit the upper layers of the mountain. Rock turned to dust instantly. Defense shields installed around the base activated. Human technology glowing weakly against alien power. Cracks formed in the protective barrier within seconds. Inside the chamber, Nova stepped forward. You must move back, he told Elias. Elias shook his head. We stand together, he replied. Nova looked at the soldiers around him, at their fear, at their determination. Something inside him shifted. Not fear, not panic, understanding. Above them, the alien commander sent a final transmission. Last opportunity. Return the defect. No one answered. The beam intensified. The shield shattered. Shockwaves rolled through the base. Lights exploded overhead. Metal walls bent under pressure. Soldiers were thrown to the ground. Elias struggled to stay standing as debris fell around him. Nova closed his eyes. He could feel the fleet clearly now. Every ship connected. Every mind synchronized in cold unity. But something was different. Small disruptions moved through their network. Tiny hesitations, doubt. The earlier connection had not faded. Emotion was still spreading. Nova stepped into the center of the chamber. Blue light began to rise from his skin again, but this time it did not burst outward wildly. It grew steadily controlled. Elias watched as symbols of light formed in the air. Around Nova, strange patterns moving like living code. What are you doing? Elias asked. I am not attacking, Nova said calmly. I am sharing. Above the mountain, the alien beam pushed deeper, just meters away from breaking through completely. Then Nova lifted both hands. The blue light shot upward through the open crack in the mountain, not as a weapon, but as a signal. It spread across the sky instantly, reaching the nearest alien ship first. Inside that vessel, systems flickered violently. Alien crew members paused mid-step, their synchronized thoughts disrupted. Images filled their minds, not commands, not logic. Memories from Nova, laughter, fear, hope. A human father holding his child. A soldier protecting someone smaller than himself. Music playing softly in a quiet room across the fleet. Ships began to lose perfect alignment. Their energy pulses fell out of rhythm. The concentrated beam weakened on Earth. People watching the sky saw the glowing cracks begin to fade inside the alien command vessel. The central leader tried to restore order. Suppress instability, it commanded through the network. But suppression required unity, and unity was breaking. Some alien minds hesitated, questioned, felt something unfamiliar and overwhelming. The beam targeting the mountain collapsed completely. The sky's glow dimmed. In orbit, smaller ships drifted slightly off position, no longer perfectly synchronized. Inside the chamber, Nova fell to one knee, the light around him flickering weakly now. Elias rushed to his side. You did it, he said. Nova shook his head slowly. Not finished, he whispered. High above, the alien fleet faced something it had never experienced before. Internal conflict without emotion. They had always acted as one. Now, some ships powered down weapons completely, others attempted to continue charging. Their perfect formation dissolved into uncertainty. The central command vessel made one final calculation. If emotional spread continued, their civilization itself would destabilize. The risk was too high. One by one, the largest ships began to pull back, not in defeat,